This is a lecture on indefinite articles, or how to use a and some in Spanish. Before we start talking about the articles, here are some actual examples of Spanish nouns. And in Spanish, nouns can be considered either feminine or masculine. So they have gender, and you're able to note this by looking at the word endings. So look at these examples real quick. And with the feminine nouns, what endings do you see that all the words have alike? Well, they all end with an A. And what about the masculine ones? Well, they end with an O mostly, and there's also some consonants and even other vowels like an E, which isn't the vowel A. So what are the general rules about things being masculine or feminine? In general, or usually, feminine words end with an A, or an AS if it's plural. And notice how I say usually. For the most part they do. I will give you a couple of exceptions at the end. For example, profesora. Profesora ends with an A. So it's a feminine noun, and it indicates that the professor is a female. And since it's not profesoras, it's only one female professor. Another example could actually be my title, Señora Quash. Señora indicates Mrs. as opposed to Mr. Then with masculine words, they normally end with an O, or an OS if it's plural. For example, muchacho, which can mean boy in Spanish. Some other masculine endings are consonant or another vowel, excluding the A. So for the most part with an O. Here's some examples. Hombre, which means man in Spanish, and contador, which means accountant or male accountant. So in Spanish, they use endings to indicate if the people being referred to are male or female, and if there's only one or more. In English, we could say girlfriend, boyfriend, to clarify what kind of friend we have. But in Spanish, there's no adding girl or boy to a word. Instead, you can tell by the endings of the noun. And actually, there are some words that do this in English, where the endings have to change to show the gender, such as tiger for male tiger, tigress for female tiger, actor, actress, lion, lioness, man, woman. Now, when we begin to use nouns that aren't about girlfriends or boyfriends or other people, and we start to talk about the other kinds of nouns, which are places and things, that's when students can get a little bit confused. For instance, look at these examples. Masculine objects. Papel, bolígrafo. One ends in a consonant, and bolígrafo ends in an O. So we can tell that they are considered masculine nouns. Then calculadora, silla, feminine objects. one conclusion some people tend to make are, okay, so what does this mean? Does this mean that some objects are for women to use, and are some other objects or places considered manly and more used by men? That's actually incorrect. They just have gender, and maybe it's not people gender. It has nothing to do with people. We can just consider it object gender. So nothing really we have to worry with in relation to people, because it's talking about objects and places and things. So, and if that still confuses you, then if you want, you can forget the whole gender terminology and think more about word matching, or having all relating words match in their endings. Sometimes that helps people. So, for the most part, to remember which is which, if a word ends in an A, man, is that a male or female? Is it masculine or feminine? If you're one of those people that you're like, I just don't understand why an A would be for female or O would be for masculine, it's kind of hard to remember the difference, then this might help you. So nouns ending with A are feminine, and to help relate A to a woman, you could picture in your mind that the A looks like a clothes hanger. They both do look similar, at least a little bit. And the hanger for most women can represent something stupendous. The hanger can represent the splendor and diversification of our glorious closets, tons of wonderful dresses and blouses on hangers, and empty hangers are the best, because that means, well, either you have to do more laundry, or that could mean, hey, I got room in my closet, how about I go shopping? So I like empty hangers personally, because for that very reason. So that was the best I can come up with, but it tends to help some people, like, okay, I can remember that. And what about an O? Now the O is the common ending for masculine nouns, and we can look at this letter, and to help represent guys or manly masculine things, we can picture in our mind a shield. A strong, manly, Spartan-like, round shield fit for battle on any continent or in any galaxy. So this tends to help guys. They're like, yeah, that's talking about masculine stuff. So this sometimes helps students, sometimes it doesn't, but so for few of you that this will help, this is for you. Okay, masculine nouns and feminine nouns. So here's a few more examples. So look carefully at each list and note again the endings. It's pretty much like the other slide. And again, nouns ending in A are considered feminine, while nouns ending in O or a consonant or non-A vowel are considered masculine. Indefinite articles, finally. Indefinite is, in English, a, an, or some. And there's only two forms, or two basic forms. For singular items, you use a or an. And for plural items, you'll use some. So we use the term indefinite because what we are talking about may not actually be present or available. For instance, I need a sandwich. The sandwich isn't something definite because I said a sandwich, and it's just something in my mind, and it's not on my plate. If it was, then I would say the sandwich. So here's some other examples. A ball, some friends. So there's 4 forms in Spanish as opposed to 2 forms in English. There's 4 forms in Spanish. Un, una, unos, unas. So if you want to say a or an, you're going to use un or una. If you want to say some, then you'll need to use unos or unas. And here's a helpful chart. If it's masculine singular, you'll use un. If it's masculine plural, unos. If it's singular feminine, una. Plural feminine, unas. And let's show some examples. Una calculadora. So what does that say? A calculator. Un libro. A book. Unos estudiantes. Some students. Unas grapadoras. Some staplers. Un piano. A piano. Unos cuadros. Some frames. Una profesora. A professor. So notice how the a or some in Spanish, notice how they match the noun. For instance, looking at the last word here, una profesora, unos cuadros. So they basically match. Now up here in the second example, un libro. Now be careful there because it's going to be un, not uno. Uno means 1, the number 1. But we're not indicating the number of books. We're just saying it's a book. So you got to be careful there. Some people make mistakes there. Okay, it is your turn. So look at these words and determine which one you're going to use, whether you're going to use un, unos, una, or unas, starting with sonrisa. Una sonrisa. Un chico. Next one. Un lápiz. Plumas. Unas plumas. Coche. Un coche. Bolígrafos. Unos bolígrafos. Oops, I gave that to you. Una nota. Hombres. Unos hombres. Teclas. Unas teclas. Tarjeta. Una tarjeta. Libro. Un libro. So finally, we're going to go over a few exceptions. And you'll run into a few exceptions to gender or matching roles that we've gone over. And I'll give you a couple that you'll need to know. And I'm only going to give you 4, even though there's tons out there. These 4 you're going to need to know for your test. So recognize the nouns in general and note that they are different. For instance, mapa, although it ends with a, it is actually masculine. And it helps to tell the difference. You can usually tell the difference in a sentence, whether that noun is masculine or feminine, by referring to the article. So, un mapa, a map, una noche, a night, un día, a day, una clase, a class. So these four you'll need to know for your test. And this concludes our indefinite article lecture.